What is a fallacy? Can you tell me what a fallacy is? What's up, dude? You gonna mute or not? I mean, unmute or not?
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't know I was up. I am starting to wrap my head around, my slow boy head around how Tag is able to kind of refute the, like the philosophical framework of atheism. But I think you've mentioned in the past that Tag leads more towards Trinitarian Christian theology than it would to, say, a generic theism. So
yeah.
My sort of twofold question is A, what exactly is the way that it suggests Christian theology?
Right, because it's an argument.
Generic theism, and then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You had a two-part question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and then if this is the case, how does it suggest Orthodox Christian theology more so than, say, Catholic or Protestant theologies?
Right, so it's an argument for an entire paradigm. That means it's not just an argument for an abstract God or some sort of speculative thing or some sort of math problem logic. It's an argument for the entire Christian paradigm, meaning not just the existence of God, but also the world that God created, also the entirety of the divine revelation that we have in this religion, the Christian metaphysic, the Christian ethic, all of that goes into it. So it's like a package deal. So I'm not saying it's true because I'm making the argument for a package deal. I'm saying that the argument hinges on it being a package deal, right? So it's not an argument that can pick out God apart from the rest of the divine revelation. So it's an argument for the whole of Christian revelation, and that includes a specific metaphysic. And the reason that Protestantism and Roman Catholicism don't work is because they have fundamental metaphysical problems due to their erroneous doctrines of God. So they have an insufficient, incoherent model of the Trinity, first and foremost, whereby there's no essence-energy distinction. Literally, the Orthodox Church is the only religion in the world that has a consistent presentation of the essence-energy distinction. And it's very fundamental to how we ground the created order. So if I'm going to ground the created order in a form of divine conceptualism, it can't be the divine essence. And so Thomism, Roman Catholicism typically identifies the divine ideas with the divine essence. And so that would actually undercut the possibility of grounding the particulars in God. They would be canceled out. They would be necessary because the divine essence is necessary. So they have to be energies. They have to be logi. They can't be the divine essence. And that's just one thing. But also the problem of the one and the many. My argument is that the Roman Catholic system has a much more tilted over into modalism, absolute divine simplicity, which is dogmatized at the Fourth Lateran Council. Pretty much makes, I think, God more or less a monad. It's more of a modalistic position. So I know they give verbal credence to the Trinity, but really it's slided over into dialectical essentialism or Neoplatonism. So none of those systems. So I would say that just as much as the Roman Catholic doctrine falls, it falls as much as Neoplatonism falls, because I see them as basically the same thing. So the essence-energy distinction is utilized by the Cappadocians against Neoplatonic presuppositions from the Eunomius, and you can demonstrate that Eunomius has explicit Neoplatonic presuppositions and argumentation. He basically just copies from Plotinus when he makes his Unitarian argument. So that's part of it. And I mean, Protestantism is just by default Augustinianism. So the models are going to be determined by the God that they have as the determining factor for the worldview, for the system. So if I have a polytheistic God, for example, that's going to give me a chaotic metaphysic overall. If I have a Orthodox Trinitarian model where there's equal ultimacy between unity and multiplicity in the triad, that's going to give me a unique approach to things like the problem of the one, the many in the history of philosophy. So those are a couple examples of why the Christian metaphysic. Others could be given as well. Maximus makes an interesting argument for on the basis of the incarnation of the Logos, and that human knowledge needs to be grounded not just in the divine in a general sense, but the divine in a concrete sense. And so he argues that we actually have to ground it in an incarnate Logos, which again is against the notion of the Neoplatonic theological presuppositions. So those are a bunch of examples that, again, most world religions are monistic or dualistic. So Orthodox metaphysics is premised on not being monistic and not being dualistic.
Okay. So I could follow about half of that. But basically, so if I'm at the point where I can wrap my head around how tag gets you past atheism, then the next thing, in order to narrow it down, I need to dig into essence energies, right?
Well, the essence energy distinction is just a outflowing of correct Trinitarian theology. And so Cappadocian Trinitarian theology is, we believe in one God because the Father is the one God. So it's not it doesn't put essentialism first. It puts the person of the Father first. And so the personalism and the personhood of the Father comes first. And that makes God not part of a category of philosophical classification. So God's not defined or known first and foremost as essence, but as the person of the Father. That's what the Creed says. I believe in one God, the Father. It doesn't say I believe in one God, the divine essence. It's true that there is one God because there's one divine essence, but that's not first in our order of theology or the order of theologia. So that's very important for Trinitarian theology, because that's how we're going to get the sole cause. The Cappadocians and the Council of Constantinople define that the sole cause is the person of the Father. The Father does not share his causal role with the Son. There's no secondary causes in the triad. There's only one cause, and that's the person of the Father. All of the rest of the theology flows from that. The essence energy distinction flows from that. So, yeah.
Okay. I wish I could sit down with you for like 5 hours.
Well, I've lectured through. That's why
I think that gets me in the right direction.
There's 1,000 videos I've lectured through. The entirety of John Damascus on the Orthodox faith. So I would say start with those lectures.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Great questions.